Welcome back to another episode of Black Journalists on Journalism. I'm here with my co-host Zori Berry, a
Hey,
special guest Michael Butler of the Miami Herald. Michael, how are you doing, brother?
Doing great. How you doing, man?
Fantastic, man. About time we get together for this, bro. I've been waiting on this.
Yeah, man. It was a matter of time.
cool. So I'm excited to chat with you, Michael, partly because of your background as somebody who's been a freelance writer who's been in a lot of publications, but also because you didn't start in journalism because you did other things. And so, as folks who are getting to know this podcast and getting to learn what we're doing, we are trying to get into the backgrounds of people who are in this industry and are doing different things. And so that's why I'm excited to talk to you today, Michael.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You hit the nail on the head.
Zori, I'm especially excited about this one because I covered real estate here in Atlanta, and I couldn't find a Black real estate reporter to shake a stick at anywhere. And then
Mhm.
one day, Michael and I hooked up on Twitter, and we're like, "Oh, we're in the same field. We got to talk." So I'm really excited to hear about how he got started covering real estate, in particular, journalism from the beginning. But I definitely want to harp on that real estate portion because
Yeah, yeah,
roles where they look like us.
yeah. Let's jump into that, man. I think it's a great entry point. One of the things I get asked a lot is, how did you get into real estate reporting? And I don't take offense to it. Granted, it's coming from mm, people with different backgrounds. I'll just say. So I in my head, I'm just like, I'm pretty sure they didn't ask like everybody else here, oh, how did you get into this? But um, I I was a tech reporter for almost 2 years, full time in Philadelphia for a publication called Technically, great tech publication across several markets. And so when the opportunity came for me to report on business in Miami, I was able to say, well, okay, look, I already have been reporting on tech. I've been doing that efficiently. So, like, if I can report on tech, I can report on anything else related to business. And it's not to, mind you, diminish people who have always aspired to be business reporters, been doing it for 10, 20 years, you name it. But I find that the journalism skill set is one that allows you to be versatile, and it's something that served me well. So in the same way that I can break down, okay, this is what Microsoft did today. This is why you should care about it. I knew that I could take that same mindset and mentality into reporting on real estate and pulling out these deeper stories.
Tell us a little bit about this transition though, because I feel like you were in Philly for a good long time. Now, are you originally from Philly? What's your where are you from and what's it like then going from Philly to Miami?
Two totally different
Oh, that's
everything.
hilarious, man. That's enough material for a whole separate podcast. But to be concise though, so I come from a military background. My father, he served in the U.S. Army for 24 years. And so with that being said, we moved around quite frequently in my younger years as a youth. And so I've lived all over the continental United States and also Panama. My mother is Panamanian. I am Panamanian. And so, I've just got this diversity of experiences based on the places where I happen to find myself. So with all that in mind, eventually later on, I went to college at Temple University in Philadelphia. I'm a proud Temple out. And I also started my career in media in Philadelphia. And so my frame of reference is very East Coast. I appreciate being a Southerner at my heart, at my core. But I was on the East Coast for a very long time, and so that comes with its own, little nuances. But yeah, that's just a little bit about, where I am coming from. But yeah, I'm not originally from Miami or Philly for that matter. I was born in Augusta, Georgia, home of James Brown, and just moved around a lot.
Nice. And the transition to Miami, how's that been for you?
It's been an adventure. I can say that like I have found my stride. I've hit my stride here. However, I was not prepared for, how many fewer black people I saw, or rather I see in Miami. By the numbers, Philadelphia is about 40% black. It has a huge Muslim population. I am not Muslim, however, I have friends that are. And so comparatively, Miami is almost 20% black. So we're talking about literally like whatever you was seen before, cut that in half, So it's very different. And at the same time, I'm Latino. However, I am an Afro Latino. So I don't have blonde hair, blue eyes. I don't look like a European that speaks Spanish. And so that's like its own other thing to unpack. And so, um, socially, I think these things like are very evident. But overall, though, I mean, I think it's really, really chill. And I don't miss the Philly winter. I
No.
can say I miss a lot of things about Philly. I do not miss the Philly winter. As somebody that used to turn very pale every October, November, I don't miss that. I don't miss like my eyes tearing up because it's so cool, or my ears aching. Like I don't miss those things. So altogether, like I'm happy to be here.
Man, I haven't even gone that far away from Boston, but I tell you, just Boston to DC, I know exactly what you mean. Like I don't have
Yeah,
to deal with those winters anymore. Oh, I'm good. I'm good.
man, that's all you had to tell me. It's like you ain't even had to say nothing else. That's all you had to tell me. Like, nah, man, you ain't got to worry about that no more. That's all you had to say.
We get 6
I'm
cold
like,
weeks here in
man,
Atlanta. 6 cold weeks and people panic. They freak out and they
man,
panic. It's 35 degrees and they panic. So I can only imagine
No.
going
man,
to New York. I grew up when snow was up to your knees.
jeez.
Yeah. So
So tell me about this time period of your life when you were in education. I'm going through your LinkedIn. I see
Yeah,
that you
yeah.
were a corps member in the Philly School District. Tell
Yes,
tell
sir.
us about that time period, and I'm particularly interested in one, how you got into the education aspect, but two, how you transitioned from it to getting into journalism.
That's an excellent question. Nobody ever really asked me about that. So thank you for asking me for that.
welcome to the
Shout out
Black
to someone
Journalists on
actually looking
Journalism podcast.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And thank you, Brad, for checking out the LinkedIn. I forget that I even have that some days. But I got into So I got into the city here on the AmeriCorps program. I'll be very transparent with you all. I was at the year before that. This is like 2009. Yeah, I'll just say it's about 2009. I was living in Colorado Springs, Colorado. My father, he retired. He was retired by this point, and he had just got a government job out there. And I've been moving around a lot, just trying to figure out life. So I was actually living out there at the time. And my brother, my older brother, amazing person, great racial justice advocate, Morehouse grad, Tulane grad. My brother Aaron was in Philly at the time, and it was like, hey, if you can get a job out here, or if you decide to go back to school out here, you can stay with me. You can just crash on my couch. Like, we're coming from very humble means. So I'm like, okay, bet. I applied for the AmeriCorps program, and I just knew that, I could fit the parameters of that. I could see myself, working with young people, with kids, being a mentor. And it was a very, very life-changing experience in a nutshell. For one thing, I had never worked in a school before. And so I didn't understand anything. I didn't understand any of the nuances that had changed from when I was actually that age. So you're talking about the kids I mentored were like, I think 7th grade. And so if I do the math in my head, you're talking about it had been at least a decade since I had been in these shoes. And so much had changed in like a 10-year period. I'm from Augusta, Georgia. So like I got to go to a magnet school for a couple of years in high school. I thought that was it. I thought you either went to like a public, private, or maybe a public magnet school. So I had no idea what a charter school was. And I say this to say, like, the Abbott Elementary show, Quinta Brunson is putting out, it very aptly depicts the Philadelphia school district, because there's just so many deficits of resources. And moreover, you're talking about a lack of of information for kids. And so I think seeing that was informative for me because I'm looking up every day, like, okay, why doesn't this elected official come over here? Why doesn't this happen? Why do these kids have to do this for this to happen? Why do these standardized tests matter so much? Why I had more, I ended up leaving with more questions than answers.
Mm.
And so I think that was a big point for me to realize, like, hey, well, reporters, they have agency and they can like speak these stories into wider platforms, if that makes sense. And so I always had like writing. I always had a journal with me. Even before any of this, I was the person that, like, if you said an SAT word, a $5 word, right? If you said that, I was a person to ask you what you said and write it in my little notebook. And this is before smartphones. So if I had to go wait till later to go find a dictionary, I would look that word up just so in the future I knew what that word meant. Or if you mentioned a concept I wasn't familiar with or something, I would go look it up. That's just the person I always was. I'm like, I want to know what that means. So that being said, that fueled my journey into journalism. But that's how I connect education to journalism. Because at the end of the day, all journalism should be educational or have some kind of educational merit. I'm not saying every story you're gonna read, every doc you watch is gonna be uh, a Pulitzer Prize winning merit, but at the least, it's gonna be informational in some way, shape, or form. Whether it's about cotton candy history, whether it's about the ancient tombs of King Tut, but there's going to be something there that's going to be interesting enough to enrich your mind. That's where I'm coming from with this. So that's how I lean it to. I digress.
Why do I feel like your experience in education really, really still helps you as a journalist, though? I feel like I'm talking about the way you dealt with kids and parents and whatever. You're still using that as a reporter.
Because these things are inextricably linked. They're like, you can't separate them. And I would say this, I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat this like, oh yeah, you had a 4.0 your entire lifetime. Yeah, you're going to be a great journalist, or to be a journalist, you have to be a great student. I'll be very, very frank with you. I don't think I reached my potential as a student. Um, I mean, life is life. I don't think I reached my full potential as a student, but within the academic system. But I always was somebody that was inquisitive. I was always somebody that wanted to know more. Like, I love learning. Do I necessarily like doing homework assignments and sitting in the classroom? Not so much, but I always love learning. I'll sit there at YouTube, look at YouTube at like 1 in the morning, and then I could tell you everything about a documentary. Does that mean, but does it mean I like school? Maybe not. My point is, like, you have to understand how all these systems work together and the value of the information in these systems. We live in a generation, I saw firsthand, where a kid couldn't tell you like how to even fix like a decent lunch at night, right? But they can tell you where the local corner store is because they know that that's where they can go spend $5 and get like some chips and soda. Because for them, they're like, well, that's a meal for me. And I don't want to jump over anyone's head, but these things are really important here. And so, like, I can't even begin to assume that this kid is going to want to pay attention in class and this kid is eating junk food all the time. But this is all the kid's frame of reference. So I think a lot of times, if you have if you have somebody that doesn't even understand like the social strata they're in, of like, okay, why is this kid eating all this junk food every day, and why does this kid fall asleep in class? Why does this kid like don't even do their homework at night? You have so much stuff to like pull apart. I could have stories for days for y'all, but the whole thing is like these things are all part of society. You understand? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's no secret that like, in the bougie neighborhoods, they're not building highways through like their communities.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like, their kids don't got to worry about, I can't sleep at night. You know what I'm saying? Like, however, like you go to like black neighborhoods, Latino neighborhoods, we're lucky if we even get like a slice of the budget. So I, I think these things you can't separate them. And the biggest concern I have is that without understanding the value of journalism and information, people are already separating them without even seeing that they're doing.
It sounds like that you had this realization while you're there in the core working in the Philly schools district, and there was a moment in time that you said, okay, journalism is a vehicle to highlight these issues and to talk about these systems. So what was the final push? What was the final sort of helping hand, if you will, that got you an opportunity to start doing that work?
That's an interesting story. Actually, it was nothing related to journalism at all. Actually, by the time I went back to Temple University, because I was a non-traditional student, I was trying to figure out what was next. Because the thing about Philly, and I think Philly is a beautiful like proving ground for anybody. The three of us could be in class every day. I could see y'all every weekend when I go down South Street, maybe hanging out, get a cheesesteak, I don't know, get a new t-shirt or something. And we could all really be immaculately talented in one thing or another, whether it's like, music, whether it's visual arts, whether it's like, becoming a journalist, a media personality. And the thing is though, like, because everything is so present to you, you might not even realize that like, wow, I have these skills or I can do this well, if that makes sense to you. Because like the bar is high across the board. Everybody is well read. Everybody has like all these different talents. It's like being a basketball player in New York City. Like anywhere else that person goes, they're gonna be like, wow, like,
Yeah.
wow, where did you come from? But in
Yeah.
Philly, like, I just gonna be straight with y'all, but in Philly, everybody is like that.
Yeah.
And so, I also like make music outside of journalism. I produce music. I love the music journalism I've done because I love making music. I love making beats. If I never earn a Grammy or anything like that, I can say I don't care. I love the music. And so at one point, a mutual friend connected me with a guy, or rather, I didn't know these two dudes were such best friends. And I went to see a mutual friend. I remember one Thanksgiving in Philly. I didn't go see my family here. I didn't have the money for it. And we were in like this club, this bar, a really popular spot in Philly. And the two of them, they just cutting up. They ain't seen each other in a minute. They're both like just scratching, DJing and whatnot. And the guy, that we have a mutual friend, DJ Damage, dope DJ, media personality out of LA. He stopped me because I asked him, I'm like, yeah, man, we just catch up. Like, yeah, man, what you doing, man? I'm like, man, just try to figure out how to get some placements. A placement for like someone who may not be familiar in the music business is like getting a gig or a job related to songwriting or production. So your favorite song on the radio, think about the person that made that beat, that's a placement. Boom. So I'm like, man, like I'm just trying to network and da-da-da. You know how it is. I'm trying to get like you, da-da-da, that kind of talk. And then the guy stopped me. He said, hey, man, the last time I saw you, you were interviewing me for a blog, man. Like,
Why you don't do that?
like I'm a big, yeah,
Yeah.
I appreciate your
Yeah.
reaction because legit, it took me years to now to fully like, oh, wow. Like, he was like, man, the last time you saw me, you were interviewing me for a blog, bro. Like, man, he had no reason to lie to me. I'm like, yeah, okay. He's like, you man, think about it like this. Like in the hip hop journalism space, like the bar isn't extremely high, especially as it once was, right? But he was like, not too. He's like, we both know. He didn't say, we both know a million brothers, sisters trying to get into the entertainment this same old way, man. I don't know many, not even a handful, not even one hand of people that's trying to like do journalism, like that can write, that can tell stories. He's like, man, whatever you trying to do, bro, you can get there way faster if you focus on this lane as opposed to being just another person. Oh yeah, man, I got some hot beats on my laptop, bro. Or bro, what's your email? Literally. And that was some of the most life-changing advice ever because I always knew journalism and writing was important, right? I mean, I knew I loved it, but I didn't know what the potential was for it to go anywhere, if you will, because I didn't grow up knowing any
It's not
journalists.
something you saw.
I think by the time I was that age, I had met like one lady and now this fun black newspaper in Augusta, Georgia. And that was it. I didn't know any journalists. I thought they were like really rich, bougie people that
They
all wore
are.
suits. Right.
Well, it
Majority
depends
still
on where
is.
you live.
Exactly.
Oh yeah. I thought it
Majority still
I
is.
thought they wore suits 24/7. I thought they spoke in a Midwestern media voice all the
There you
time.
go.
And so I never saw a place for myself. And I bring up this anecdote. I say this to say because so often for many of us, we only go off of what we've ever seen happen. Like, I didn't think I could go to college at any point until I saw my brother do it. My father went into the military. That was like my father's from Carroll City, Miami. I guess Miami Gardens are basically like black middle class suburb. They working middle class, honestly. Like so you where he from, you were either going to the military or you know what I'm saying? Like that was it. So representation is important, but I also didn't realize how these things work, or even what gifts we might have. So I didn't realize I even had those gifts. I'm like, wow, man, like we all are trying to figure out our way into the next journey, whatever. But like, man, you're over here sitting here asking people, can you interview them, bro? Think about that. And you're actually going home and writing this stuff up and blogging. He was like, I know a couple of people don't understand the third in that, but like, bro, like think about it. It's not many of us doing that. So I digress, but that was probably for me the moment where it all started like sinking together. Like where it's just like, yo, what if I just finish like keep trying to go hard with this media thing? Like what if? Because it's like it's like he wasn't telling me stop making beats, stop making music, stop going to the studio. He wasn't even saying that, but he was like, but at the same time, you got this rare skill set. Like, what, like too many times we try to fit into these boxes just because we like, oh snap, you either got a wicked jump shot or you got a wicked flow. That's it. You know what I mean? Like, and it doesn't have to be the way, or rather, it's not even
Yeah.
that. Not like it doesn't have to be. It's not that way at all.
Shift the paradigm right there. Absolutely. There's a lot there that I'm thinking about with respect to just recognizing or recognition of opportunity and how something that you're skilled at might open up other opportunities for you. And journalism might be the way to be able to put you in different rooms and different places to do things that you're really passionate about, that you really love. And so that's
Yeah.
really cool. So who gave you that first opportunity to start blogging to maybe get a wider audience, if you will?
So okay, so I think in the interest of the question you being asked, because the thing was this, right? I think I was blogging like here and there. But I can say, dang man, I remember I got to like start writing for this is maybe like a year after I graduated college. I started writing for Metro Philadelphia, which was like the local incarnation of
Oh yeah.
the Metro newspaper.
Yeah.
Like they
Yep.
had like a
Remember that.
Yep.
national DC,
Remember that.
yeah.
They got a
And
Metro Boston. Yeah.
yeah. And so what's interesting about that, especially in a state like Philly, and so I know Donnell, you're in Atlanta, I'm in Miami. Zuri, where you at?
I'm in DC.
You're in DC. Okay, so DC is more urban. Like in the urban cityscape, people are more likely to pick up like, I don't know, man, like here, I got like a bookmark here. People are more likely to pick this up to read on the train, right? Than they are to get in a car, drive somewhere, and I don't know, turn on the TV. because everything in the cityscape is right there. It's ever present. It's tangible.
Within reach.
So at the time, I didn't think it was crazy. I think I was getting paid like $100 a story, maybe 150.
It's good.
Like,
You
man,
did better than I did when I
You
started.
did way better, about 5 times better than I did.
Let me tell you,
And-
$25 a story back in the day.
$35 for a high school story,
like-
story, man. In the range.
what was
Yeah.
I didn't realize how many people were reading it, for one thing.
Mm.
And I didn't realize how many people were watching me. And so now it's like, I always had to humble myself because, like, from where I started from, I think one day though, a guy that I knew, I ran into him. I'm like, yo, what's up, bro? And we just passed each other like on a train or whatever or something. He was like, yo, man, I see you, Metro Mike. Okay, all right. And
That's dope.
you know,
Bro.
I'm laughing because I'm like, in my head, I'm like, man, this ain't the Wall Street Journal, or this ain't like ESPN or something, man. Like, you know what I mean? This ain't Vibe magazine, you know, but it's like, no, like people were able to say, like, I could tangibly pick this up. I could read through here. By the time I started interviewing more people in the local art scene and just in general, people were literally like posting Instagrams of the paper with their face on it. Right.
Nice.
And in my head, I'm like, it's a free newspaper, but you know, for a lot of Black people, a lot of people of other different designations, the background, like you never would have saw yourself on a physical newspaper,
Yes.
right?
No, let me tell you something, because this is a good point, right? Like when I worked at the Boston Globe and I'd get on the T in that area, it used to make me so mad that instead of seeing people read the Globe, they were reading the Metro because it was free.
See?
And they were just handing them out. And I was just like, man, like we need to somehow figure out what's what here, you know? Anyways, it felt like it was competition for me in that moment, but I also understood the power of just making it accessible, right? And being accessible is something important to our communities. We have a huge issue just overall in the media landscape with so much of good journalism being paywalled. It's a wild and radical idea to just give it away and be supported by advertising. And obviously for the Metro papers, it was a good business model for quite a while.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And the thing is, like, I mean, I'll be transparent to you. Like, it was good until it wasn't right. You know, that's all under conversation, but at the least on the primary level, right? You have a product that people don't have to think about. So it's almost as if you have like an iPhone or something. You give a kid an iPhone, give someone's grandma an iPhone. They don't have to think about the product; they can just use it. So we'd be on this train in the mornings, and I looked up and I'm seeing all these people reading that same paper. Yeah, it's free, but at the same time, there's value in it because people are at least seeing it paper and they're reading it. So that was like kind of like a really unique experience. Doubly, at the same time, I had a day job. I was creating digital content. I was working for the city's tourism organization. That taught me a lot about corporate America. That's like a whole other book. But yeah, like I was free. That's what kickstarted my freelance career at the same time. Because it's like when I graduated, and I wish more students knew this. Everybody thinks that, wow, you're going to graduate and all those internships are going to like just automatically turn off. Like people act like they get the internship. That means that you're going to have the job when you get done. No. And even more concerning is that like you can be the best intern they ever had. Literally. That does not mean that you're going to have a job when you graduate. So I know where my tail off. I was active with the Philadelphia Association of Black Journalists. I still have so much love for them. I have like a T-shirt from them in my drawer. And I have friends in the org. I know where my tail off like those last few semesters in school, but I say that when I graduated college, I didn't have a media job, not even entry level weight. Right? Philly is a really, really competitive media market. It's not big. It's not big at all. Like people had the idea that like, oh wow, you know, that media person's from Philly. Man, Temple is a media school. Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, man, I got the degree from there, bro. Like I went to all the coffee shop talks, man. Like I went to I sat outside of class waiting to shake people's hands. Like, I can tell you, I did all of that. I was active with student orgs. The whole point here is that for a student, we need to be, especially as a Black student, you have to be in the mind of being independent. You know, you can aspire for that job. That's great. Well, what'll happen if you graduate and you don't have that job waiting for you? That literally happened. And I'm saying that, bro, that happened to me. And so I was like, wow, I know how to create digital content. I know how to code a little bit. I was working on a tourism website. I would write here and there, but I wouldn't show any of my clips to anybody that I actually like respected. It was basically copywriting. So I say that to say like, the Metro experience got me into freelancing. And that's when things started to get really different. I wish I could tell the Mike back then what I know now, but that's when things were like actually moving. And I couldn't see it because at the time I'm like, man, I'm only getting $150 a story. I don't know if I thought it was gonna be lucrative freelancing. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, I had a day job at the time, thank God, but um that's what started everything. So like when I look at it now, like, you know, I can reach out to an editor and be like, yeah, hey, how you doing, man? Like, hey, like, I want to write about this or whatever, you know. I had the relationships already at like these national places. You know, when I was a kid, I never thought I would write for Ebony magazine. You know what I'm saying? I never thought I'd write for it here, there, or the third. But it all built on that work that I started at Mesh. And that's the whole thing. It's all building momentum. I tell young journalists, like young content creator, like, bro, I don't care what your age is. I don't care if you think you're too old to have started this journey. Like, especially now, just show people that you can write. One of my mentors at Temple, I got Amy Caples, amazing lady. She told us straight up, because she had worked in the industry before on the TV side. She was like, when you graduate here, unless you were summa cum laude, don't put it on your resume. Don't put your GPA on your resume. You can say that you went here, but at the end of the day, whether you went here or whether you got a 4.0, unless you were like an elite student, nobody cares. In media,
Yeah.
nobody
They don't
cares.
know.
They
They
just
don't.
want to see that you can write, you can show up on time, you can do the work. If you're a TV person, they want to see your reel. If you're an editor, you want to be an editor someday, show people what you have edited. Nobody cares about that other stuff, you know. And
Donnell, you a editor in chief. Tell me about this. When you looking at resumes, do you care for any of those things?
Availability is the best ability. You can tell me all this stuff about your college newspaper, all this stuff about your internship at the Washington Post and your internship at the Miami Herald, your internship at the Boston Globe, all well and good. But today you're sitting in front of me and you don't have a job. And what I want to be able to know is, can I send you out in the street in Atlanta, in my case, and you can come back with the story, with the photos, with the
that's
interview.
it.
That's it. All that college degree ain't helping me. I got mine. I'm glad you got yours.
And and Donnell, you hit it on the head. I mean, some people might get mad, but it's just like, it's the reality of the things. Because at the end of the day or whatever, like, I tell people all the time, bro, I was just yelling on a panel. I look back at the playback on the video. I'm like, damn, I was probably snapping a little bit. But I was like, because I was trying to tell everybody, I'm like, yo, man, don't be over here trying to compare yourself to me, him, her, whoever it may be. Not because I'm a hell of a guy. No, you don't need to compare yourself to nobody in this business, because all these journeys are so relative. Y'all see me now in a suit and tie. Y'all don't realize how much free work I did, how much stuff I did for like $50, how much stuff I did just for
the byline.
Because the PR, just a byline. Literally, the PR person must have like feeling like, oh wow, I need somebody at the event. Okay, there's one guy in my inbox that's here. Man, we can't really pay you nothing, but hey, you know, you get a free dinner. I'm like, okay, sure. Like, yeah, like I've done it all. I'm not at all. I mean, I have some scruples, but my point is like,
I didn't.
It's such a, but it's just such a journey. And what ends up happening is people will see, especially with social media now, people will look at their phone and be like, wow, such and such is doing this, such and such. man, like it's a journey. Like, and I tell people all the time with this business, you gonna look around and see that if somebody is maybe a little bit older and you seen them pop, it's because it took them the rest of that time to get to where you even know who they are.
Like,
You know, and so it's very much just like entertainment where it's like people will say the brother from This Is Us, Sterling K.
mhm.
Brown, right?
Yeah.
Sterling K. Brown, you know, he's had a whole life already. And he went to like top acting school, you know, duh, duh, duh. You're just now seeing him because this show and like he's finally getting celebrated, but he's been like this for some
20
time.
plus year career.
Yes, sir. And I digress, but the whole thing with I think with the freelance journalism and just my thing is you just never know your way in. I was thinking about this the other day watching Golden State play the Lakers. I know those I'm a basketball fan. And I think about this one Draymond Green anecdote. I don't advocate for just punching your teammates. That's not what I'm saying. No, you shouldn't do that.
Probably shouldn't do that
Whoever
before you start the
whoever
season.
is listening, please, please, I beg of you, please do not do that.
Don't punch your coworkers,
Don't
guys.
yeah, don't punch your
Don't do
coworkers.
that.
If you having a long day, just
Even if you feel like it.
Even when you feel like it, don't.
Especially if you don't feel like it.
yeah, just take a deep breath, walk outside. But Draymond Green had this really interesting anecdote. Maybe it was from a few years ago, and he was talking about how he got into it, like how he got into his current rule. And he was saying that he remembers when he got drafted, he was like in the training camp or what have you, trying to play like LeBron. Because obviously we've seen Draymond is very versatile, guy his size, handling the ball, defends, everything. And he remembers the coaches being so disgusted with him. And it was funny. He's like, man, they tripping. Like, why they gonna be mad at me, man? I'm literally playing like LeBron James over here right now. And he's out playing like LeBron. And then their whole thing was like, we didn't draft you to be LeBron James. We drafted you to be Draymond Green. We drafted you for your skill set. In this industry, it's too easy to be wrapped up what you see on Twitter, what you see on LinkedIn, Instagram, whatever your social media platform. Or, oh yeah, oh yeah, my aunt said that this such and such is doing a lot. Like, that's cool. But no one is checking for you to be somewhere else. No one is checking for you because you follow somebody else's path or whatever. No, your journey is your journey. And can't nobody put no time clock on that. Yeah, and I think that's the biggest thing, like in journalism. I harp on a lot, like because I remember starting. I can tell you, I can remember starting out like, man, I should be further along, or man, I sent all these emails out and I ain't getting no response. Every question, every problem I thought I had at the time, now I basically have an answer. So like I had to learn that in this business, you'll send out a lot of emails and maybe you might not get a response. That's just the nature of the game. Nobody is oblivious to it. Nobody save God in heaven is oblivious from that. Like, and so it's like a batting average in baseball. If you say you bat 300, that's good, right? If you that's great. Like in journalism, if you bat 300, yo, you doing it
Word
big.
up.
You doing it. I will get up. I will clap for you because I've sent out 20 emails and maybe I got one response, and that was enough.
Gotta
Like,
get that
was
one.
enough.
Gotta
That
get
was
that one.
enough.
that was enough. So, it just all come with the territory, but I think so much of it is like what I really am trying to say is like it's not we're at a point where it's not about being good no more. Like if chances are if you went to school for this, or if you even just went to school at all, like it's not even a point about being good. Are you sharp enough? Are you well spoken enough? Is your elocution there? That it's not even about that anymore. And you know what I'm saying? Like a lot of times it might be an editor. They just fired somebody. A mentor actually shared this story. Yo, it was kind of wild, but it was very fitting. He was like, man, I only got hired because the TV what's the TV? Was it
News
the
director.
station manager,
Oh, station man.
program director? Yeah, yeah, the director. He had fired somebody else like the day before, and they needed somebody literally ASAP. And it just so happened that this dude had given his physical resume to somebody, and they called him the next day. And now this guy's had like a 30-year career in TV.
Availability is the best ability. Can you be here
That's it.
tomorrow? Can you be here
That's it.
tomorrow? Yes. Okay. Click.
Because
That's
what are
it.
you? Because Donnell, man, you're an editor. It's like, what are you there for, right?
Golly.
Like, you can't like if they turn something in, I know for a fact Donnell can probably like clean up some of
And
the
take
sentence
something from it.
structure, take something from it.
But I
Boom.
need you to be
That's
there
it.
though.
That's why the editor is there. You're not there to be the editor. If you over here in your head worried like, oh no, I don't know if I have the right outfit or I don't know if like, man, just show up. I be telling everybody that, bro, just show up, bro. Like, show up. That's
Show
it.
up.
Do the work. Do the work, put in the work, and it'll all work itself out.
Yes.
Listen,
Yes,
there's a
sir.
couple of things that you said in there that I want to get to, but the larger point about freelancing and how that was really when you were sort of making moves without even knowing it. And I mentioned to you this before we started recording that I wanted to talk about this a little bit more because it feels like, given the state of media, newspapers in particular, that a lot of people are going back to freelancing
Yes.
as their primary means of expressing and doing their journalism. And I wanted to get your sense of this because right now it's like, it feels like it's a booming creator economy, right? I mean, Substack is a thing, Patreon
Yeah.
is a thing. All of people, I mean, we're on a podcast right now. This is, nobody's sponsoring us yet, but I'll tell you this, this is the direction where a lot of people are going and said, let's create the content ourselves and own that content ourselves. What do you think about that? And what's the I guess the current place and space for journalism within the independent world?
I think it's super important because it's something that we were never able to learn about in this capacity, to this extent at any other previous point in history. And it sounds dramatic. It might sound like hyperbole, but no, it's the facts. We never, well, hey, right? Okay, so let me step back for a second. Economically speaking, right? We have never witnessed a moment where in which, gas prices are like this. A thing of eggs, a dozen of eggs cost, who knows, an arm and a leg. And people that we legit thought were balling, like they're even acting like, yo, man, this is wild. Like, if you're trying to buy a house right now, you're better off like buying a new computer for yourself. Start a business. Oh, like you're
Here's
going
an
to see
apartment,
more of an
basically.
investment. You're going to see
Yeah.
more of an investment right there. And so, you know, that the tools are right there for us. I'm not in it when I say it like this. I see every person is going to become YouTube and have the little plaque on the wall. Like your favorite YouTubers, if you watch them, they got the plaque on the wall. Everyone not going to get 1 million views, 1 million subscribers. I think those subscribers, not views, subscribers. Everybody isn't going to have a Substack that is like paying their mortgage off. No, the reality of that it just is not there. At the same time, though, and you can own those skills, whether or not you decide to do full-time freelance or you just want to have your own thing or shaking, you will always be served well because there are certain skills you learn as an entrepreneur that you can use in your job. That you can use in any setting. So I think that this moment in history is unique in that sense because we need more Black journalists and creators taking agency for themselves in any way, shape, or form. I think for so long with this industry, it was almost as if we were waiting to be chosen. And I can't say that in any polite way, or whatever, because I know I've been here before. Like I used to think to myself, "Oh, the dream job is just going to open up for me one." And the reality was, these people in their newsrooms and their jobs, they're like, "Well, shoot, I got work I already got to do." So like I'm recruiting talent and I don't see your name, I don't see your resume. I'm gonna go to sleep tonight. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm still going to keep doing what I have to do. So yeah, I feel bad for you, but what does that mean for me? we need to have more agency. I think all the time. I wish when I was a Black college student, I knew that I could freelance. Like I wish I had known that. Like literally, if I could make an extra $500 in a semester writing about music, going to concerts that I already love, it's a no brainer. Stuff that I actually know of. Like I know the intricacies of. And that's the whole thing. We're not getting compelled to do that, or rather, we're not getting pushed to do that. And I think that's a grave danger because like we need more of that support. There's what I'm trying to tell you, man. We need more of that support. We need more of that support. Like and we need to like be able to take pride in our craft. Because if it doesn't happen now, when is it gonna happen? You know, this stuff is taking off here. Like this, like having your own podcast, having your own YouTube channel, freelancing. I tell all my friends, I don't care if you're a lawyer, I don't care what are you like, yo, man, I got a whole email of freelancing tips. It's probably 1,500 words that I wrote that I literally will send out to any person. I'm not no gatekeeper that if you hit me up, I will send you that joint. Cause like there's stuff that I learned that I don't want other people to have to like deal with. You know what I'm saying? Like I know what the white noise is like when you're not getting no responses. You sitting there thinking that, dang, I heard something. You hearing the air conditioning. That's what you hear. You're not, man.
That noise in
Yo,
the background, that's the air
man,
conditioning.
that's the air conditioning.
Oh,
This business acting leaning into your computer like, oh snap, wait a second. Bro, you ain't heard nothing, bro.
No.
You hear the air conditioning. That's okay. I'm glad you have AC, but let's work on other stuff. You know,
Yeah.
and like because I think the radio silence we call it the business, that thing will like destroy somebody's ego. That would destroy your ego, it would destroy your passion.
it
And
would
so
destroy
it's
your
like
spirit.
Well,
all of that. And so at the least, if you can realize just in a way that I put on 2 shoes to go outside, like you do, this is a part of life, yo. Like we all gotta like accept it. And more to the point, I think Nick Cannon was talking about this on the All the Smoke podcast. Like yesterday, I was listening to Nick Cannon. Obviously, seems like an interesting guy.
yeah.
But he was talking about Hollywood and how fickle the business is. And he's saying something basically. Nicolas Cage dropped out of a project to do with him. It would have been bigger than like Fast and Furious. I'm not going to go into detail, explain the whole thing. It turned out Nicolas Cage skipped out because they didn't give him $2 more million, and he ended up doing National Treasure. And so Nick Cannon was like, "Bro, I've had so many moments in this business where he's like, I'm on. Like, I don't think I'm finna be on." He's like, "Bro, I'm on with this one, bro. We good. We ain't gotta work again after this." And he's like, "But not one moment." He's like, "I've had multiple moments like that." I would be surprised if I talk to any journalist that tells me that they haven't had multiple moments where they just like knew it was surefire.
Right.
You know, like, yeah, like I know y'all can attest to this where his moments where he's just like, man, this the one right here, like, oh man, bring me all the awards, bring me the Pulitzer, bring me a side of a red velvet cake, bring me everything, bro. Like, and it just doesn't happen that way, you know. So I think the more that we get to freelance and do entrepreneurial stuff, the better professionals will, because we're going to be Black before we are a journalist, reporter, business person, whatever. We are always going to be Black people in America. So the more that we can do to support ourselves without violating, you know, like that's what we need to do.
Yeah.
That's dope. That's perfect. Because you said this, you said, I never saw a place for myself in journalism. And that's,
Yeah.
and I'm at a Black newspaper, and I feel like where I'm working is a place for young Michael and young Zori and young Donnell. Matter of fact, I know for a fact,
Yeah.
'cause I got here at 27 and they gave me a spot covering the Hawks when no one else would have. So I know there's a place for us. You're right. As long as we keep on spreading the word and sharing it, other young reporters and journalists will know there's a place for them too. I can feel you when you said that, though. I remember saying, I don't know if this is for me. I don't know,
Yeah.
because I don't know nobody like this. So it must not be for me. My father was the super for the builders. He got all the keys and everything.
Yeah.
I know that's for me. I know the mailman was for me because he was Black. The cops in my neighborhood were Black. People at the hospital were Black, but There was no black journalist. I read the paper every day, but nobody's black face was in it. The New York Daily News. So it was crazy when you said that because I felt that. Like I know a lot of people listening to this
Mm.
feel the same way.
Michael, I'm super interested in that time period where you started looking at real estate and how that transition worked. I know you spoke a little bit about that earlier in our conversation
Mhm.
here about how you could apply your skills that you had learned to basically anything, whether it's the tech space or now it's to real estate. But tell us how you were able to pitch yourself when you were talking to the Miami Herald about this role.
You know what? I had to stand on it. I had to stand on the work that I had done most recently. And that's why I always tell people be consistent. I don't care if you're doing something with your local, like, I don't know, you know, community newsletter, or if you're doing something with ESPN, the Undefeated, like consistency and also being able to know what you're talking about. So more than anything in this business, your editor wants to know, your hiring manager wants to know you know what you're talking about. Like, okay, like now I'm not asking you if I'm hiring you for like another beat and I know you haven't never worked this beat, don't act like you know about real estate. Okay. I'm not hiring you because you know about real estate. I know you're not an expert. Maybe another candidate is. But what's going to get you over the hump is going to be how well and passionate you are about what you do report on and what is transferable. Like, right? What things are transferable there? Because if they wanted a real estate person that 15 years in, they could have got. There's no doubt in my mind about it. I'm not going to sit here and boost my ego up or lie to y'all. No, it is what it is. But I can say, okay, I read about tech up and down. I know tech like the inside of my head. And I've written about all these other things. So if I can't show you nothing else, I can show you that I'm a great writer and I'm passionate about what the subject matter is. Because the whole thing is this: you can always find a passionate reporter that can just get immersed in something and start to like pick it up versus somebody that, oh, well, they've done the work before, but maybe they're really bored of it and they're just doing this because it's there.
Mm.
It's a lot of people like that. You're like, man, bro, do you really want to be here?
Mm.
Like, yeah,
I
Oh,
have stories about
I
that.
got too many.
like,
Way too
like,
many.
bro, like you could be like, he's getting the work done. Excuse me, he's getting the work done, but like, you can tell he don't even want to be there. And so what I found is like, and I translate it to anything. Like, I've had mentors be like, man, Mike, you got a lot of energy, man. Like, you can fix everything else. You can't fix your enthusiasm. I want to nice about it, PC or whatever, but you can't fix enthusiasm. Like, you can't like get somebody to be more enthusiastic. Like, someone can be like way more talented again, but I can tell if you care or not. We sitting right here, and it's an assignment, and you're over here like fixing your face or acting like, oh, nah, nah, nah. It's like, bro, you can't fix that.
No, 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 and
It's
that's a
uh,
good point. There's a couple things that you just said that I like, and that I would say I would point out when I would look for a reporter or somebody that I was trying to hire. One is that curiosity, always needing curiosity. It shows up
yeah,
whether people, if you have it, you have it. If you don't, it's pretty obvious when you don't. And then sometimes you want some people who are obsessive, right? People who can't let things go, and there's a
yes,
lot of reporters that find themselves to be very successful, whether or not they're deserving, it does another matter, but can be very successful just because they're obsessive over the things that they cover, over whether it's music, whether it's politics, whatever it may be. And I think you need a little bit of combination of both. And you've sort of described that. What's
yeah,
your thoughts there?
yeah. You hit it on the air right there, Zuri. I think that's where things are going. I think what we're seeing is like this confluence of culture is what I like to call it. So before you could get by saying like, okay, I'm the real estate reporter and all I do is talk about real estate like 5 times a day. Like this is all I care about. Like literally, like I go to sleep thinking about this. I turn copy before anybody else. Now it's like you have to be like a 360 realized individual, which you should have always been anyway. But it's like, okay, what does real estate mean for like Miami's tourism industry? What does real estate mean for Miami's tech community? What does real estate mean for hospitality? Hospitality is a big thing here because there's way more room and there's bigger audience in talking about the connections as opposed to just be focusing on the one thing. You don't have to be the cool guy and like the amazing haircut or something and the cool expensive clothes that is reporting on real estate. Like, no, you don't necessarily have to be that. You don't have to change yourself in ways you perform, but you have to understand that this is one part of a society. And I think journalism is a finest example of that because if I know how this works over here, I know why the rent's going up, and this is a real estate thing, then I have to wonder about the tech sector. How many of these new people coming are taking homes from people that were already here? These are
Mm.
two way different things, but they're also connected. And so I say that to say, like, there's way more, how do you say, like, sauce, if you will, to be versatile and understand everything, how it connects than it's ever been before. Because now it's like, I look at it, I value versatility. I value being able to say that I've written about anything under the sun. And if I haven't written about it, I can dig right in. I do not mind being up 2, 4 in the morning, like researching stuff. That's the profile of the reporter now. And it's a direct parallel to the NBA. I argue and I debate this a lot. But I think the NBA overall is more talented than it's ever been,
Oh
right?
yeah.
You know, like you got kids now that are doing Euro steps. They know how to post flow. They know how to shoot three. They play hard defense. They're hustling. And it's not to diminish previous eras because every era has had amazing players. But I can say in good faith, every person in the league right now is like, man, I gotta learn something new to keep my job. You know what I mean? It's not like the 1950s when it's like all white guys and they're just doing this like it's like the YMCA or something. No, that's how I look at journalism. I'm like, man, if hey, you had the mayor, if there was enough little bit about you that was crazy to where you saw this as a path, I already take my head off to you because you gotta be a little bit thrown off to work in this business. Like,
Ain't that the truth?
Amen.
I don't know how to say that politically
Eh,
correct, but you gotta
no,
be a
That's it.
there's no way around getting, you need to be a little different.
you gotta be a little bit different. And on top of that, then once it's like, all right, well, okay, maybe this dude over here is just wild. Maybe he's like just chaotic. Maybe he's just like doing wild stuff. Then you have to be good. But then beyond that, you have to be a good person. Right. And so then it's like, I mean, I'm not no saint or anything, but I was telling some college kids recently, it's like, bro, you're gonna be a good person before you're good. And it goes back to the whole energy thing. Like if you come in here sour or whatever, or oh man, I shouldn't be carrying this around or whatever, or I shouldn't be doing the grunt work or whatever. It's like I don't believe me. You got paid. I don't you don't gotta get hazed, right? I'm not one of the people like, oh man, I carry 10 pounds of bricks in my back pocket just so I can get to school. No, I'm not one of the people. But at the same time, understand that like maybe that's not your time. It's just when you accept that, then you're like, all right, big, cool. Like then if it's not my time, I can see Donnell shine, right? I can see his shine and I can help amplify his shine. I can help Zuri shine. I can help amplify you. Because in the end of the day, like the more I amplify y'all, the better it is for all of us. So like if I'm doing it off the love, it's just like because I genuinely believe in you and I'm not looking for like nothing in return. But it's just like really like remembering that like, yo, what are you doing as far as like being just a good person? Like, is it texting somebody like, yo, man, thank you for having me out with you today, bro? Like, you didn't have to do that, bro. I appreciate it. Like nobody ever let me hang out with them for a whole day on the job or whatever, man. Like, that was big for me, bro. Like, or even something as small as like, yo, man, hey, can I get you a coffee? I mean, I've been running around with you all day, bro. Can I get you coffee, bro? Like, you know what I'm saying? The downside is everything, but I think you mentioned with like this new economy of journalists
Yeah.
is that everything's become so transactional. And so before when I was coming up, I wasn't so aware of all the layoffs in this business. Well, granted, when I was coming up, it wasn't as bad. I think I can be transparent in that. That being said, with social media, it's like, man, you can be an average person. You know what's happening at Vice. You know what's happening at Gannett. You know what's happening at wherever. And that stimulates the way some people are thinking. And so some people are like, man, I only even want to get coffee with bro because he will give me a job. No, no, nah, like, bro, do you care about like how my mom is doing? You care about like how I'm doing? You whatever. And so it's a fine balance. But I think at the end of the day, people are gonna remember you more for being a good person than they ever gonna remember your byline.
You
Like
know,
you can
Benaya Wilson posted something on Twitter today, and she often posts something similar to this, but she said essentially that this is a small pond, this industry. You know, we working in a very small pond. There's not so many of us out there, and those that are in this business are in it for the long haul.
yeah,
And so everybody remembers. So when you burn bridges, people
yes.
remember. When you have bad relationships, people remember. And so it's always a good idea, no matter what situation or where you're at in terms of rank or whatever, none of that stuff matters. What matters is building good relationships, having good relationships with your colleagues. So when you say get coffee, I think about all the times that I've just like, hey, you want to roll with me to Starbucks? It's on me. Like, let's go. Like, let's
Yeah.
just chat it up. Like, I just want to catch up with you, whatever it is. So that way we can, stay connected and stay on the same page. You know, that's how people want to be treated. They want to be treated well. They want to be treated like a person. They want you to see their humanity. And so it's always a good bet to treat people in that way because it comes back to you 1,000 times over.
Yeah. That's the biggest thing. And Benet Wilson on Benet.
Yeah.
Drops a jewel
Uh,
once a week. There's a jewel she's dropping on Twitter. You can
Yes,
guarantee
yes.
it.
yeah, like on Benet, I can try to call her a mentor. But I think it's like she mentioned that she mentioned this in a post we were just at. It goes if for fun, we can get done. You go to Benet Wilson's LinkedIn and
Mhm.
count how many followers she has. It's an absurd amount of followers. Like
Oh,
literally,
yeah.
like it's an absurd amount. Might be hundreds of thousands. And it comes from her just being mad too, I'm mad humble. But also the idea for her is that I can give something back to this ecosystem, right? So like
Absolutely.
I can give something back to you. Like I can make some I can like I can give something back to me, whoever. And you have to think of it from that mindset. Like I've been in this now maybe a little bit less than 10 years altogether. If I go back to like my internships, all that stuff, and I didn't realize how much there's a deficit of information. And so like I got people now that might reach out to me like, bro, I saw you did this for OK Player. And they're not even asking me like, yo, man, can you put me alley oop? They're like, yo, man, how did you write that story? And or even worse, like not worse, but even more intense. Like, how did you pitch? And I'm in my head, I'm like, bro, like if you got time to get on the Zoom drawing or whatever, bro, we can do that. Like, cause pitching is like an art form, but nobody tells you what it's like, right? Pitching is its own art. You know, maybe you never had an editor before, maybe never been in news before. Maybe you never had someone break it down to you, like, okay, cool, that's a great idea for a story. A lot of times, like people will be like, that's a great idea for a story. You should write something about that. Okay. You know,
Now
well,
what?
okay, what is that? Now
That's
what?
what I do.
Now what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you standing there like, dang, you being in front of the computer like, okay, if somebody else said, "All right, this would be a great idea for a story."
Yeah.
Um,
Man.
and I don't know what to do next.
Listen, man, I feel all kinds of ways about this because uh I often ran into the situation of getting pitches and not having anything to do with them. And I'll tell you why. Because not
Mm.
every newsroom is set up to accept pitches.
Right.
And I think sometimes there's a lot of freelance reporters that don't realize this, and PR folks as well. They don't realize that not every newsroom accepts pitches. of them actually just reject them outright. Organizations that do, typically magazines, typically sites where you see a lot of freelance work, that's where you want to go. That's where you want to focus your attention. And they'll usually give you some kind of parameters to do them. But it's really interesting that, again, a deficit of information or whatever it may have you, like there's a real sort of thought process that needs to go in with respect to where am I actually going to with that pitch? Who should I be talking to? And how do I structure that pitch so that way it's successful? I mean, all of those things feels like it should be taught in college, but they're not.
Well, that's the other part. That's the other part of this whole thing where it's like when they're what's the value of education institution, all this. I'm not attacking my colleagues in academia or anything of that sort. But I'll put it to you like this. One of the biggest debates right now in the tech world is whether or not you should go to college and major in computer science, or you should go to a tech boot camp. Now, I can give you the sheer numbers and you can draw your own conclusions. A tech boot camp might take you 6 to 8 weeks, maybe, because there are some that are free. Let's say it costs $3 or $4K, right? That's a lot of money. It's not cheap. But you can come out that boot camp with the skills to get an entry-level job at Alphabet, entry-level job at Meta, entry-level job at whatever your favorite tech company is. Entry-level job in tech, you're making 70, 80K off the bat, like off the rip. They just want to see that you know how to like develop code, whatever. You're making 78, 80K off the bat.
Well, it's worth the $3,000, obviously, in that case.
Right. You go to college, the academic learning curve for comp sci programs just doesn't advance as fast as the industry. So if you're lucky, you'll meet people that have been in the industry, but you're still going to take out student loans most likely just to be able to learn about this stuff without the actual application. I look at journalism very similarly. Okay, let's be straight. Let's just take the cat out of the bag. Like with journalism, unless you're going to Morehouse or Hampton, I guess Howard, because they have a good media program. And they're probably some of the HBCUs that I can mention that have great media programs. You're just going to school, and that's cool. You're just another college student. And PWIs, unless you go to a Temple, unless you go to a USC,
Missouri.
Unless you, yeah, you're just another college student. I'm just going to be very, very frank with you. Why do you think grad schools exist? Because they know that you're going here and you're just a college student, so you need something more to differentiate yourself. Boom. So the issue I have is that, like, within a lot of journalism programs at schools, kids are not getting all the tools or getting all the information about the industry to where in which they can decide, okay, I want to succeed, or I want to do this, or I don't want to do this. You're just told, okay, you were on the student at radio for like 2 or 3 years. You know how to work a radio board, or you'll help edit your school newspaper, so you know what it's like editing at a top paper. You're just another college student. Oh, cool. Oh, that was a cool project. You might as well just told me you played basketball for the team or something, and that was your extracurricular project. I mean, at least with the basketball or the sports, you got leadership skills. Maybe you're just somebody that was in the room when they did the paper. I don't know. And so, like, we need to, like, start telling more kids. And this is, I guess, a plug for my school. I don't think they perfect. But I mean, they're my alma mater. Temple, we had this major called Media Studies and Production, which is what I did. It's basically like a modern communications major. I didn't major in journalism. So I'll tell everybody, you to work in this field, you do not have to major in journalism. It's important.
Sometimes it's a detriment, actually. Sometimes you want the other skills in other fields. But
you have some people.
We're talking a whole nother podcast subject right there.
I'm an English major. That's a whole nother podcast.
The reason I look at media the way that I do, I'm thankful for it now, is that, like, we had to study the history of media. So we had to study, like, how NBC got started, how there were 2 different stations. We had to study the history of radio. Like, you know, what did it take for us to get to, like, Hot 97 and in Atlanta, Frank Ski, Wanda, which show was that? What station is
Uh,
that? B1.
B103.
Yeah, how do we get to these stations? What was Black radio like before hip hop, right? It used to just be like you can only hear hip hop like maybe on a late night or some shit or something. Excuse me, that was something.
Pirate radio
Oh
somewhere. It
yeah,
wasn't even mainstream.
right. So we had to actually study the industry and the histories therein, and we also had to understand like all the different ways people are making money in this business. So we had to understand like what a good business model for our organization is. Like what works, what doesn't work. We had to like actually learn this. And then on the content side, and I know now my god sister graduated from Temple a few years after me, and she learns even more stuff than I did. Now they know how to make TikToks, Instagram reels and monetize it and tell news that way. Yeah. And
Wow.
so it's
That's
like
dope. That's dope.
That is
That's
dope.
dope.
Right?
it's like I be thinking about it, bro. I'm like, man, I just want a young person to be able to be aware of like all the opportunities they have because news looks so different now. And I think that's beautiful. I just want people to know about all the different ways that they can tell a story. There's some kids that like they can make a 10-minute, a 10-second TikTok and get like, bro, I don't know how many views, like literally. And for them, they can give you all the who, what, when, where, how, or why, like all of that. Boom. If that's your lane, do that. That can be journalism.
That's valuable.
It's value. It doesn't always have to be. It's not necessarily always journalism. I mean, there's a lot of nonsense on
Right.
all these.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But it can't work. It can't work. And so my whole thing is, I'm just like, man, use everything that you got, bro. It's like you cooking, bro. All you got is some eggs and some rice, bro. That could be dinner, bro.
Absolutely.
Like you get some good seasoning, bro. Like you can hook that up, bro. Like that's my that's my that's my frame of
And make
reference. Cause
do
like
with what you got.
make do with what you got. That's what we gotta do more of for real.
Michael, I feel like we're having a really good conversation. And it could go in a whole bunch of different directions from here,
Oh
but
man,
I
what
know
is
we're
this?
past the hour. Let me ask you this because you started touching on this in
Yes,
terms
sir.
of advice and things that you've said to young folks that have come to you and talked to you about this business. What advice do you typically give to young journalists as you're speaking to them? What's on the number one piece of advice that you want to give right now?
One piece of advice I would give is believe in yourself. I feel like when you're a journalist and you believe in yourself, especially when you're starting out, and when you just have that belief that like I can do this, that changes your possibilities tremendously by like saying that I believe in myself. And because we see it all the time. I'll tell people there were people that I believe were better writers than me, better in networking than me, better at whatever you could say than me. Um, and for whatever reason, like they like, how do I say this? I guess politely, they kind of tapered off. You know what I'm saying? It's because like you could tell like at a certain point people might not believe in themselves. It's unfortunate. I think when you're black in America, you're taught not to believe in yourself. Like you're taught to humble yourself. You're taught to talk a certain way. You're taught that, oh yeah, your voice doesn't matter in the room. And in this industry, like all you have is your voice, literally. All you have is your credibility, your voice, and your ability to show up. So like just believe in yourself. It sounds hokey, it could sound motivational speaker, whatever. But man, this is not no other kind of industry. Like this is a very competitive industry, a very white, male
Once you start talking
dominated
about America,
industry.
everything froze.
Oh snap. Man,
It
man,
froze for
man,
you
man.
too? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, my bad, y'all. But no, just believing in yourself goes a long way, I think. I feel like as young black journalists, media professionals, we're taught not to believe in
Mhm.
ourselves. And so I feel like if you can say that I believe in myself, I affirm myself, then like it can make a lot more easier for you. You know what I mean? It can change things in a really positive direction, but it has to start with that because I feel like not enough people are telling kids starting a journey, yo, believe in yourself. Like, hey, you tell your mom you want to start a YouTube, you got a little mic, you got a phone, you can be a journalist. Like, yo, write that email to the people. You'll never know what they're gonna say. Like, they respond to you, "Oh yeah, we'd love to have you." Like, yeah, sure, yeah, maybe you're 10, 13 years old, just come with your big cousin or your mom or something. Like, you just never know. And I think like that's the thing that we don't foster enough for our community. Like, give that black child room to grow, give that black child room to shine, celebrate them. You know what I'm saying? Like, push them, give them the opportunity, exposure to all these different things, and tell them, yo, you can do that. Like, I'm right behind you. We are so many of our black youth don't get that. And that's going back to my experience in working in education. You can see that a lot of kids never know what anyone tell them, like, wow, I could be that. Wow, I could do that. Like, it don't matter what your goal is. Maybe you want to run the local sanitation, the waste management in your city. You can do that. Maybe you want to be on TV. Maybe you just want to like have a decent job. So like your family don't got to struggle, bro. Like, you can do those things, but it has to start somewhere. And I do put it on us of like a certain generation to tell the kids, we believe in you. You know what I'm saying? Like, cause that matters so much. I cannot emphasize that enough, man.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Great advice. Great advice. Donnell, you got extra questions
My only thing,
as we end this?
yeah, I wanted to close with Mike. Just tell briefly, just telling me that, or at least let me know how important journaling was, because journaling as a kid, some people journal as a kid, some people journal as an adult. I still do. How important is that to be getting your thoughts on paper to becoming a journalist?
Oh yeah, it's essential. I think it's something you gotta just build a habit of.
Mhm.
It's like if a kid want to talk to like Jason Tatum about like, oh yeah, how did you become like all NBA, one of the best players in the world, humbly as he said. I don't
No, I
disagree.
don't.
Um, you got it. Yeah, it's a skill. Like, tell that kid take a basketball everywhere. Like dribble all the time. Dribble somebody say you get on your parents' nerves. Like, take your journal everywhere with you. Take it with you to church. Take it with you to the doctor. Take it with you to school, and like just get busy with that. Like, like literally get busy with it.
So
Like, just journaling, make it a habit, though. When you make it a habit, like it's not weird to you. And it becomes, to be quite honest with you, it becomes a comfort, it becomes a support to you. Like, you're gonna realize there gonna be times when like maybe I can't get this out of my head or I can't figure this out. But if I write it on paper, this can like be a little bit more plannable, if you will. Like, those things are
yeah,
super important. So like I think like journaling, just making it a habit is what matters.
so
Michael, thank you so much for your time, for your wisdom, for your insight here. I've super appreciated this conversation, and there's a lot of little nuggets that have been really important to hear.
Mike, we appreciate you, man.
Yeah, nigga, this was about. I mean, at the end of the day, is what we gotta like. We gotta do more of. I tell people all the time, bro. I'm no kind of Hollywood or whatever. Like, I think it's really dope that like people get opportunities to share like these insights because man, when I was learning stuff, man, I used to try to go to every council meeting, every panel, um,
Yeah.
you name it. I would
Yeah.
legit be. I would just be there. I would just be there. I would just be there and just trying to learn because so much of this information I'm coming. This is the old school part of me. Like, I'm young enough to get some stuff. I'm still old enough to remember certain things. I remember to where in which you can only get certain information if that person was right there in front of you.
Yeah.
That's always been my attitude. People are like, why do you talk about NABJ and people like Aunt Benet so much? Because it's like, bro, I'm telling y'all, there is no other way to get that information
Mhm.
unless you went to
Be
that
in the
person. That
room.
person is a
Be
source.
in the room.
That is the only way, bro. You the only way. You can't get it on TV, on your phone, whatever Google could tell you. You need to go out. Everybody's scared. Everybody nervous. Everybody don't know what the hell we're gonna be doing. You're not alone. But at the least, if you go out there, you can meet people that can remind you, like, yo, man, like we got something going on here. We got something. So I think that's really important.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you need to find that information, hopefully that's this podcast too.
That's the goal.
Yes,
The
sir.
goal is to share. We just want to share other black journalist stories, and we try to do that. Thank you, Michael.
Yeah.
Man, I thank y'all so much for your time, man. This was really,
This is
really
dope.
dope, man.